White House overnight, a tense standoff with police as protesters tried to tear down a statue of former President Andrew Jackson.
It's a racist Confederate statue. Okay, it should be knocked down and put in a museum.
Confederate. Gosh, joining me now, my buddy Jarrett Stepman. By the way, I get people asking me all the time, Jesse, what books do you read? What books do you read? Because I'm always going off about how crappy all the modern history books are because they're all written from this America Sucks point of view. You want one? You want a real book on it? Jarrett has won the war on history. Go read Jarrett's book on it. He'll tell you what these people do to our history, to the people who built this country. Jarrett, all right, people have already heard me go off on Andrew Jackson. I admit he had some presidential policies that weren't necessarily my favorite in the world. Rough around the edges, yes, but this country was built by guys like that stud.
Oh, absolutely. And I do have a chapter on Andrew Jackson in my book. And I think that even many of Jackson's political opponents in his days recognized his necessity in building this country and his strength, of course, winning at the Battle of New Orleans at the end of the War of 1812, which was an incredible accomplishment, fighting against, at the time, the world's preeminent world power, fighting against Great Britain, I think really establishing the United States as a great country, as a country that would not be kicked down, we would get back up again and get back into the fight. Jackson was an essential figure in establishing America as a country. I mean, we think of America as something that's eternal, that's going to go on forever, that is the biggest and the strongest. But in Jackson's time, the United States was a pipsqueak. This was an experiment. It was rough men like Jackson, fighting men like Jackson, who really built this country, who gave us the country that we have today.
Yeah, dude got his head slashed when he was 14 as a POW for refusing British orders. Gosh, I love this guy. You know what? Talk about the Battle of New Orleans really quickly, Jarrett. People do not realize he was outnumbered 2-1 in that battle with some motley crew of pirates and criminals on his team.
It really is stunning. And the War of 1812 didn't go very well for American men-at-arms in large places. I mean, Washington, D.C. got burned to the ground. There were a lot of engagements that went south, and this was something that happened at the very end of the war. Jackson knew that the British were going to come and attack New Orleans. He created an incredible defensive position, as you said, using some pirate weaponry, some regular soldiers, many frontiersmen. Of course, people think of the hunters of Kentucky firing their rifles. Jackson was a very smart man, certainly in military affairs, despite the fact that he had no official training. His training had been he had been a businessman, he had been a lawyer and a judge. But this man had an innate intelligence for military matters and led to that great victory at New Orleans, which I think was a capstone on his career. It's really quite amazing. It's almost the story of a superhero, a young man at 13 years old. Gets slashed in the head, being told to shine the shoes of a British officer, destroys the British military at the Battle of New Orleans, and establishes America as a power. It's an amazing story.
Support the First TV today and get instant access to exclusive specials like Who is Ron DeSantis, the history of FBI scandals, and America's worst presidents. Visit thefirsttv.com/support or download the First TV app to become a supporter and start watching today.